Join me as we dive deep into the reasons why more and more men are seeking multiple partners or wives. Let's see if we can figure out the truth behind this booming trend. So is the modern dating and being considered side pieces, is that changing the game for men and their expectations of wanting and desiring more than one woman?
And until you recognize and understand that you've been lied to, and those values that they tell you that you should live by is a bunch of farce, it's a lie. Yeah. Who told you you couldn't have more than one piece of chicken? Who told you you couldn't have more than one woman? Who told you you could? Who told you that?
Exactly.
Who show me the man who told me it's a sin? Because I'm gonna punch him in his face and tell him you're a damn lie. I didn't have more than one woman.
He's not playing, huh?
We gotta brainwash ourselves.
He said, "I like chicken."
And that's from the mouth of a 60-plus-year-old. Now, before we get any further, please make sure you take the time right now and hit the like button. That's right, hit the like button and subscribe. We're gonna be talking about polygamy and polygamy relationships from the man's perspective. Polygamy. Now, before we get into some questions, I want to make sure we are all on the same page because as I did some of my research and some of the other different things I would view, people have different perspective or definitions of what polygamy is, polyamorous relationships, monogamy, and all of that. I'm going to go ahead and give the most common Oxford, Webster Dictionary. Monogamy, of course, a person is married to only one person at a time. Polygamy is a person is married to more than one person at a time. Polygamy can be further divided into polygamy, with an N, polygamy. That's when a man is married to multiple women, and polygamy is the most common form of polygamy, okay? And then we have polyandry, and that is when a woman is married to multiple men. Probably less common, but it happens, okay? And then we have group marriage and same-sex polygamy, and I'm not going to get into all of those. We're going to stick with some of our most common ones. How are you feeling about this topic, Ifa Bukola? I know you've been having some material on this lately.
I mean, we ready to talk about it. It's a lot that said about it. Yeah.
Okay, we definitely going to talk about it, and I'm going to ask you, Ifa Bukola, why do you think some black men are drawn to the idea of having more partners or multiple wives?
I think that it's a view of themselves being authentic and being honest and not being restrained by others' ideals over themselves.
Okay. Mr. Kenny, you want to answer that same question? Why do you think more black men are being drawn to the idea of having multiple partners or wives?
I think the whole concept extends past where we are today, and we have to look at who we were as the ancient ancestors, what they did and how they lived. We were never polygamous. Monogamous, right? We were never monogamous. Mm-hmm. It's not in our genes to be monogamous. If you could find a man that wants one woman, shake his hand and take a picture of him because he's rare.
Yeah.
So what we have to understand is we were wired that way to be polygamous. So we have to be true to who we are, and that's what we're starting to see because we're starting to realize that the monogamous relationships simply doesn't work out for us.
But do we think that more black men are being drawn to it because of its roots, because of our ancestral tradition, or do you think it's something else? Anybody can chime in on that.
I think it has a lot to do with we're evolving, and as we evolve, I think that we're getting closer to our authentic nature again. And so in returning back to our authentic nature, this theme comes back up, without shame or guilt. What do I really want? Without shame or guilt, who am I really?
Absolutely.
Jeremiah, why do you think more men are being drawn to the idea of having multiple partners or wives?
I think I like both. That's a very interesting perspective, which I feel like I do definitely agree with that. And whenever I am in that bag of thinking, that way of thinking, but I'm also, I'll say, like, one thing could be, another thing could be, it's self-validating. It's a lot to unpack, but I'll just say the simple thing is it's self-validating too, like knowing that maybe for the young black man to know that he has multiple women choosing him, it makes him also feels more, I guess, accomplished as a man, or more of a man. And that, yeah, typically.
Well, I can hear you through your silence.
That's funny. No, I'll just be listening. I think that a lot of us are drawn to this. A lot of black people, black men, because it kind of to spin off what Bukola was saying, without that shame and guilt, to kind of operate in a manner that seems like it's already being promoted to us. If we want to look at like the rappers and, you know, just historically, like Kenny was saying, historically, this is something I see that has already been done. So it's kind of like, all right, how can we have a structured version of this? So if you want to put a title on it, like polygyny or polygamy or whatever, it's to say, let's do this in a more structured manner. Then, you know, like, it's not illegal to have like 10 baby mamas, but it's illegal to have, you know, 10 wives. So it's like kind of like a structured thing, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
Absolutely. I think we have to understand that polygamy was introduced in the 1400s.
Polygamy or monogamy?
Monogamy. I'm sorry. Monogamy was introduced during around the 1400s to us. We've always been a monogamous. I mean, a polyandry society. We've always had more than one wife. It was accepted, and it was nothing wrong with that. It was a tradition in which we all lived by. And during the 1400s, they introduced this thing called monogamy. One woman. Now, I'm not going to get into the details as to why monogamy came about, but you can understand the society that we live in today had a whole lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men from Europe didn't like women. It was easy for them to have one woman. Hell, it was easy. They didn't have women. They had men. Okay, so if you want to, let's just get it down. So this monogamy thing was pushed on us African men during the 1400s. See, during slavery, we never knew anything about this prior to slavery.
Okay. But do we think that more men are advocating for polygamy because do we think they're looking for, is it love? They want to love more than one woman? Is it about building the community, or is it generational wealth? What outside of what we're saying their nature is? Okay, so they have more than one eye, you know, more eyes for more women, but is it anything to do with love or building a community at all?
I say all of those. I would say it's every one of the points you just touched on, but it's specific to the person as well. Because some people might want, you know, hey, I want all these different flavors, you know, shapes and sizes and whatnot. And then some people may be looking at nation building, like, you know, I want to have a bunch of children and I want to spread wealth, and you know, it's such a broad topic that I don't think I comfortably could put Black men as a whole into one category to say that everybody wants it for these reasons. I've just seen so many different ways that people are trying to approach this thing.
Well, what can be one thing that you can think of? Name one thing men would want it for.
I can see the benefit baseline of just having the options, like Jeremiah was kind of saying. Like it's kind of like an ego boost or a confidence boost to know that you have more than one woman who wants to tend to you, because our time is precious. And if you have more than one person who wants part of your time, so I think it will make you think you're more valuable. I'm not entirely sure though, but I think it will make you feel a little bit more valuable if you have more than one person requesting your presence.
And so that's from Will, who's representing our early 20s. Kenny, you have your mic open, who's representing our 60 plus. What was you going to say to that?
I would say this to that. I would say that men, and when I say men, we're talking about men of color. We are very, very dynamic people. There are more than one side to us. There's a lot that has to go about in order to make up giving us everything we need. One woman simply is very hard to find one woman to give you everything a man needs. So I gave you an illustration when we were here. We were talking about the tools. And in order to build a home, in order to build a marriage, in order to build a person, in order to satisfy a man, a woman has to be able to do multiple things. And because we require that as a man, we require a woman to do this. There are certain things that we look for in women. And if they can't perform those things, then we don't look at them as a wife. So what we do is we find what we need in women in multiple women. Not one woman can satisfy every aspect of a man. And so another woman is required to fulfill those deficiencies. And so what we're seeing is men who need these women for different things. It has nothing to do with ego at all. So it has more to do with the need to be fulfilled, because we are a very, very unique creature. We're very dynamic. There are more sides to us than what they recognize. And so we need this, we need that, we need this, and we need that to be fulfilled as men. And so sometimes it requires more than one woman to fulfill those things that we need.
And I like what you were going. If you can restate the example you told me before with the tools.
Well, let's say we're building a home, and the home is the man. And in order for us to build a home, we have to have various tools. I cannot take a hammer and expect a hammer to do what a screwdriver does. I would be crazy if I took my screwdriver to nail a nail in. So I must get a hammer.
Right.
Okay. Same with the screw. I would be crazy to use a hammer to screw a screw in. So we need multiple tools to make us who we are. Because we are unique creatures. These are some of the things they don't tell you about ourselves. We are very unique creatures. It's going to be very difficult to find a one woman to satisfy all the various aspects of who we are. And so that's why polygamy was always necessary for us, because it takes more than one woman with different skill sets, different things she brings to the table to help build us men the way we were built before 1400.
Okay, well, now people would say that the Black family is already going through financial difficulty, financial strain, society pressures in life. To add more women or more children on top of one family, wouldn't that be considered insane? Bukola, what do you think about that?
Not at all. I think it would make us wiser to put ourselves aside, to get out of our own way, our ego, that is, and our attachment and our possessiveness and obsession on, controlling the other person or owning the other person, and see the enterprise, the opportunity, and coming together as adults, who have talents, gifts. Just as Kenny was describing, every person in a situation is a different tool. And if we could look beyond ourselves and our selfish, will to consume the other person, we could see that, each one of us serves as a tool, a gift, a talent that can come together to really move bigger missions than what we alone have, the capacity to do. Women are multipliers. Anything that you want to do, a woman is going to multiply it. She's just like the earth. You put it, however many seeds you put in, she'll give you way more than what you put in, So when you have more than one woman, you have more than one skill set, more than one person to give you insight about yourself and about a situation. You have more than one mirror so that you can keep sight on the gifts and talents and capabilities that you have on different set of eyes. One woman can see your strength, one woman can see your compassion, one woman can see, your wisdom, one woman can see, your creativity, and they call those things out of you. So I think once we could stop being self-centered, then we could see the opportunity of working together.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. So what would be the reasoning or the logic to give a woman in response to her wondering, why would you as a man be the one with multiple? Why? Well, I should be able to do the same thing. What is the logic behind that? The reasoning for why it works more for us as black men versus the woman wanting to take that similar role? And but you like whatever you said, I don't know whatever the type of polygamy was, but yeah.
Yeah. So if I could answer the question, be one of the persons, to answer the question, because intuitively something comes to mind. I would say we need to be authentic in whatever we're doing. So if it's authentically your nature, you have to ask yourself, is it really, as a woman, is it authentically your nature to want more than one man? Can you still be healthy in your emotionality, in your mind space? Can you have a peace of mind following the leadership of more than one man? Will it confuse you? Will it pull you in different directions? If you come up pregnant, whose is it? So it's just too many things that are to be asked about are you being authentic? A man can father many households, but a woman cannot mother many households.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to piggyback off of that and say that if we can unbrainwash ourselves, because we've been brainwashed to think that we are supposed to have one woman. So let's make that clear. Has nothing to do with ego or anything like that as to why we need more than one woman. That's just the way God wired us. When he made women and men, he made more women than men because he didn't know how to count. Yeah, he knew how to count. He knew how to do math. He knew there was more women than men. The reason for it is simply what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And so we have to unwire our brain and understand that this is something that is more common than monogamy. It's been around a lot longer than monogamy.
Absolutely.
And so we have to look at why this has been around much longer and why did it work for us? There was no such thing as divorce. In ancient Egypt, there was no such thing as divorces and fatherless children and none of that stuff. So let's take a look at that and see how we have been influenced by the society that we live in, and society that you live in determines what's acceptable and what's not. And so when we live in a society that says this is not acceptable and this is acceptable, then we have a tendency to go with the society and say, even though our tradition says, we'll go with what society says.
Well, let me ask you guys, do you guys think that there is a double standard when it comes to men wanting multiple wives versus women wanting multiple husbands?
Away from the man.
Initially, I did. Personally, I did.
Will, that's you. You're saying what?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said initially I did. I thought it was kind of like a double standard because I try to play on both sides whenever there's an argument. I try to look at why a person would disagree on this side and why a person would disagree on this side. And for me personally, like the whole baby thing and, like whose baby is it and or, how a woman might feel in their response. I just look culturally, I look at the only other, well, not only, but one of the only other cultures I've seen where a woman had, multiple husbands are places like India, where there are literally more men than there are women. they have the largest population of homeless people in the world. So where this culturally, if it's a thing that's done there, I have no complaints about it. Now, as far as my personal preference, I don't think that my people are Indian, so I don't know if that's something that I'm really rocking with personally. So the double standards has to do with what are you accepting culturally, to me. So what are you accepting in your environment? What do you look at as something that you want to model your life after? If that's a woman being and having multiple husbands, if she found some type of way to make that happen cohesively, then I ain't got nothing to say about it. It ain't got nothing to do with me.
Okay. Jeremiah, so you have a woman that says this is double standard. Your girl might say this. What is your response to that?
I mean, I was the one that asked. I was
like, girl, this is my question. Double standards.
Yeah, I mean, there are. I'm telling you, that's going to be the argument of the women when we meet up with them this week. Double standards. Why can a man have more than one wife and not the woman? And I know Bukola gave some very good, the authenticity of it, some very good points. You know, if she gets pregnant, whose child is it? And let's just be honest. I think that men are jealous creatures by nature.
Yeah, I ain't going for that.
I don't want
jealousy, protection, whatever you want to call it, but
yeah, but I feel like that'd be one of the lower totem poles of like the reasoning behind it, the logic. Like I think what Bukola said just about like authenticity, like being authentic with ourselves. Like I think that that will be more of the higher totem pole and part of my argument versus being like, oh, I'm a jealous person. She's like, I'm jealous, and then you can't really.
There's so many back and forth you can have with that too. Like, I'm this. Well, I'm this too. And it's like, are you that because I'm saying it, or just because simply that's what you really got going on?
Well, someone answered the question for me. Do you think that a lot of men out here romanticize polygamy without fully understanding what it takes to manage multiple relationships and be emotionally and financially balanced with them? Kenny, what do you think? Do you think there's some men out here that romanticize the idea but don't truly know what it will take?
Absolutely. Remember now, when we live in a society where Christianity rules, Christianity says that we are one woman, one wife, one man. So once we live in a society like that, it kind of romanticizes the fact that you can have two when you can be the bad boy, right? Because when you can get 2 or 3 girls, that goes against society norms. It goes against religious norms. It makes you a bad boy. It makes you separate. It makes you tough. It makes you not give in to you're a rebel to society, in other words. So there is an ego attached to this thing. And so what we have to understand is these women who see us in that way, they are still thinking under the old European style system. And until they brainwash themselves and realize that monogamy is a farce. It's no such thing. It doesn't exist in the animal kingdom, doesn't exist anywhere. And so it does to some animals do mate for life, they're few, but for the most, it doesn't exist in nature. Yeah, so we have to redo our brains.
Bukola, do you think that there's some men out there romanticizing about it but don't fully know what it takes?
Yeah, definitely. I think that looking at it immaturely, like, if you to look at it like a thrill or ego boost, I think that, you set yourself up for a lot of regrets, a lot of chaos, if anything. But for the one who's productive and they understand that a woman accelerates your accomplishments, she accelerates your strength, she accelerates your power and your efficiency. I think those are persons who should step outside of, the shame and guilt that's placed on them for being their self, because we're really coerced into monogamy. You can't get the girl if you don't agree with the monogamy. So that's our nature demands us to have a girl, to chase a girl, to find a girl, to get a girl. We live for that. if there's no females on Earth, all of us will jump off of a bridge today.
Literally. I'll be the first.
You understand? So
you said you be the first.
So all, just like you hear, I can speak for every man when I say that, you know, that we indirectly or directly, we really do live our heartbeats to choose whatever woman we want. That's why we go to work. That's why we become something, because we know that if we're not something, we can't choose it. You know, we can't choose or we can't get chosen. Right. So the thing is, you know, it's coercion when you force males through shame and guilt and insult to stick with monogamy. Is just an attempt at best. You understand? Anybody who approaches monogamy as a man, it's an attempt. He's attempting monogamy because it's not his nature.
Say it again with your chest.
You know what I mean? So sooner or later, his arms is going to give out. You know, you might walk around with a 10-pound sandbag, but sooner or later, my arms are going to start burning, and I have to resort back to my true nature. You understand? And now, oh, he's a cheater. He's a liar. Oh, I can't trust him. I'm going to divorce him. And now families are split up over him falling back into his nature. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to undo these things so that we can have a more sincere way of showing up in relationships. And the sincere way is, who have men shown themselves to be? They shown themselves to be polygynous or polygamous. You understand? I think I heard somebody on here saying the same thing, but it's what we already doing anyway. If you all the children, who's your daddy? Who's your mom? Okay, at the end of the day, after you take all the notes, you're gonna find out we practice polygyny more than we practice monogamy anyway. So we have to bring it out of the dark, bring it into the light, add some order and responsibility to it, and go.
So real quick. I actually found out about polygamy through the Bible. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I'm reading the Bible and I'm questioning God. Like, God, I thought you said, let every man have one wife. Because I'm listening into, Genesis clear as day. I hear my thoughts. That was never said. There's nowhere in the Bible where you'll see that. This is what I hear in my mind. And I wasn't too versed on the Bible. So, sometimes we think our head is our own thoughts. Like, that ain't God. That was just me thinking. But I'm like, okay, so I hadn't read this yet. And I hear that never said that. And there's no scripture in the Bible that says that. So I go in a deep dive tailspin trying to figure out, like, all right, is this a thing that's happening consistently? Some of God's favorite people had multiple wives. King Solomon had 1,000. His dad, and what I read, interestingly enough, is that Solomon, King David was his dad. So some of his wives was actually inherited from his father. When he died, he said that, that was a part of his birthright pretty much. So it's like, this has been happening forever. You know what I'm saying? It's just when we get into Christianity or religious groups and their ideas and their version of it, I think there's some sort of agenda to try to teach people a certain way. I can't say what the agenda is, but you know what I mean?
So I want to ask though, you guys feel like certain men should be also deemed unworthy of having multiple? Not saying they can if the woman allows it, but are some men not necessarily capable of doing it? Because, like I said, like you said, us as men, we can father Nicola. He said we can father different households and things in that manner, but some men just genuinely don't know how to be a father at all. So should that be a man that has 2 to 3 women with him as well, if he's not going to be able to be the version of the man that's needed?
That goes back to, what I was mentioning earlier, is that women are for the productive man. Because remember, we got to remember what God told us. We add in too much of our own opinions, and we lean not into our own understanding. What did God say about a woman? She's a helpmeet. So if you're not trying to act on or create or manifest a vision into your life, being productive, with your life, you have no purpose or reason for a woman. There's no reason for you to have a woman if there's nothing trying to create and manifest into existence. She comes in at the point where you initiate legacy. When you initiate legacy, now you need a woman. And you may need a hammer and a screwdriver and a level and a square. I don't know. But Women have talents and gifts and efficient and capability to add efficiency to any and every operation. You know, if there's cooperation going on, you know, and you know, I hope I'm not going on a tangent. I'll keep it short, I promise. But while that thought is here in my mind,
please go ahead.
We throw this thing in there all the time of, oh, you got to be able to afford this, afford that, afford that. That's not the only provision is money. Money's not the only provision. This is United States of America, first of all. Let me put the context. And women themselves fought so hard to uplift their voice and say, I'm in power. I can make my own money. I could do all bad by myself. She shouldn't do that because it's not her nature. However, you already showed your hand, you already showed your cards that you're not this damsel in distress, okay? So everybody can roll up their sleeves and make something secure and safe for themselves where everybody thrives. But there's this sense of entitlement of, oh, I'm a girl, so you're supposed to relieve me of all burdens of life while I sit here in a soft pillow and scratch your back every now and then. No, that's not how it works. Do you know how hard women have worked since before we created luxury in this great country? You know what I'm saying? They work harder than the men. So we got to get realistic about things. Let's say a woman, she makes way more money than the man that she's with. There's a misunderstanding today that one has more value than the other because one makes more money than the other. Excuse me, God put something in a man that he didn't put in a woman. And he put something in a woman that he didn't put in a man. There goes your value right there. So if you live life without that value, money can't make up for that.
Right.
You see?
I like that. Yes, William.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't say anything. I'm just listening.
So we have Winford, another special guest, the one to chime in. Winford, are you on the line?
My quick synopsis was that, to me, females, they gripe a lot about the polygamy part of, you know, the relationship. And don't get me wrong, there are quite a few, you know, loyal females out here. But generally, females are never, ever really exclusive. You see what I'm saying? There's always and some kind of orbiter. You know what I mean? There's always somebody in the DMs. There's always an ability to, you know, have a woman, you know, a man will take a chance on a woman, of course, quicker than a woman will take a chance on a man, just because, of course, of the financing part of it, of the relationship. She's always, from a little girl, been wanting to be taken care of, right? So it's just a matter of if you do have your stuff together with a man, you know, you can't take care, like, for instance, a man with 4 kids, they can't take care of really, if they're all by 4 different women, you got to have long money in the United States to be able to take care of 4 different households. So it's kind of to what you were saying, you have to be the right kind of male with the right kind of finances to be able to be polygamous, or you're going to just be dealing with a certain type of woman, because generally a well-to-do woman with you know, that's college educated with money, you know, it's going to be a certain level of status of male generally that she's going to deal with. So with go ahead.
I like to, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to interject on that. I actually think that it doesn't necessarily take a type of man with long money. It's going to take a type of man with the ability to be a great communicator. If he could be a great communicator, he could make that woman with that money do what he needs for, you know, the community, the household needs. You know, she'll be willing to spend her dime and take her resources to make this whole unit work. But the man has to understand how to communicate and show her value in it in order for the woman to stay committed. And
And you're saying that would be for like 4 females, a part of.
It's not a matter of amount of a number, a quantity. It's not even a matter of that. It's just even dealing with more than one and more than one. First of all, the man's going to need the ability to have great communication to keep just one. And then if he wants to bring in more than one, oh yeah, he's going to have to be a magician, to be honest, because one is pretty hard. I got some hands up. Thank you for Winfred. I appreciate your
Absolutely.
Aspect on that. Bukola, you had your hand up.
Okay, I look at it like this. I think that's a great point to make, that there are those situations out there, if not most situations, where a lot of money will be required to satisfy women where their understanding is at.
Yes.
However, as
our grandmothers and great grandmothers,
yes, and
they want more.
vision though, okay, a woman can have all the success, the degrees, entrepreneurship, money, all these different things, but she's still not a man. And there's still things that men serve a purpose for that she can't do for herself. Especially if she has children in the situation who may not have fathers in the same home. Because even though she's an entrepreneur, she makes all this money, the smoke detector is still chirping. Okay? That's the ultimate sign right there. That no matter how successful you think you are, it still goes over your head what you think you need. What you think you need. A man can come with $5 in his pocket, but if he has wisdom and a vision, her money is better in his plan than for her own plan, because she's a consumer at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know how to find her way out of being a consumer.
I like that. That's a bomb explosion right there. A woman's money is better in a man's hands than in her own hands. Wow.
I like that. That's real.
You just opened up a can of worms, because that's gonna have to be another show for another time. So
yeah, PIM. Put it in my pocket.
Yeah, put it in my pocket.
We basically are saying monogamous relationships is definitely failing our community. Do we think that women or monogamous relationships that are not working in the present moment, do we think that monogamous relationships that are not working in the present moment would work if they just introduce another person into the relationship? Or do you think a polygamous relationship has to start from the ground up? Like both of y'all went into it saying we polygamous people. Do y'all understand my question? Bukola.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm single and this is what I want to do, I absolutely would not start with one woman, because I would put strain on her emotions, because she would begin to, she would begin to cast ideals around the framework of just her and me. And then when you bring another person into the picture, it could disturb her too much, to continue going forward, even though she understood that that's what we were doing, So it's better, in my view, to start with at least 2 or 3 or 4. But under no don't start with one, because now you're putting strain on the one who collects sentiment and all this time and emotional depth, and now you got a challenge on your hands, It says the same thing in Holy Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentions about marriage, he says, and marry 2 or 3 or 4. He didn't start with 1. He said 2 or 3 or 4. But if you cannot be just, marry only 1.
People fail to realize that word just. Ooh, there's a lot to that. If you cannot be just to all of them equally, it is best to marry just one. Has anybody on the line had a polygamous relationship where they started it after being single? Kenny?
Of course. That's why I have so much to say on this subject. Now listen, just because you have multiple women doesn't mean you don't have individual relationships with each one of them. I met one at a time. I don't go out meeting two women at a time. I meet one at a time. I want to get to know her. We develop a relationship, and then we go past one. So the whole concept of this polygamy thing already had to do with arranged marriages. Let's go back to the way it was in ancient Africa, where we came from. These are the laws that we live by, or we should be living by, because that's who we are. These marriages were arranged because of the fact that they did take into accountability the financial aspect of everything. That's why they wanted to make sure that you married him, because he had money, his family had money, and they wanted to keep that money within the family. So the arranged marriages were necessary, and that was the reason. So because of they put into consideration everything that a man and a family needs. And so that kept the problems away. But in society here in the United States where we live, things are totally different. It's going to require you to have a lot of money because
taxes.
It's just a different animal here in this country. But you start off with one woman at a time, just like you meet your first woman, your first love. And a lot of times you don't realize that you don't meet a person going into meeting another person. It just happens that way. So you have a one-on-one relationship with that individual. You love them, they love you, and as a result, you both want to add another partner to the relationship, another wife to the relationship, because wives are for both men and women, if you didn't know what I mean. Okay, it ain't just for the man. Okay.
Okay, so
the emotional part of the.
Okay, so I was gonna go into that question later on, but I will go ahead and bring it up. You do have some polyamorous couples out there who feel like bringing in another woman or wife, sister wife, is also to help benefit the existing woman. Now, that can be on many different perspectives.
Absolutely, and it doesn't always have to be sexual, see? It's just the simple fact that there's another woman to take the load off of me with the kids, with the this or with the that.
Right,
see?
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be sexual.
Okay, now, but that's what I wanted to go into. There are some people who are putting a different spin on it, and you find out there that there's more women who enjoy it because they get to participate and be physical with the other woman. Is that what was in our nature? Was that the idea of women being with other women, or was it to help ease the burden? Who wants to comment on that?
Go ahead.
I think that it's
Bukola. I'm sorry. Let me get Bukola. He had his mic open.
Well, personally, I wouldn't want to get into the woman and woman thing. That's just me personally. I don't, if that's what people want to do, that's what they want to do. But personally, it's not something that I would want to get, involved with. I would rather stick to, we all know what we're here for. And while we're at it, we can love each other and we could be supportive of each other, while we accomplish all these things.
Okay. Jeremiah? Jeremiah's scared to take that?
No, I agree. I agree with Bukola. I'm not into like woman on woman for real. Like, I understand the appeal of it, but if I'm talking about a woman that I actually care about, I'm not really good. I'm not seeing how to have with that for real. So it's more so for the benefit, less than the burden in my eyes, for me.
Okay. Kenny, you had your mic open. Your Winford was.
Yeah. No, we're talking about the various aspects of a polygamy relationship. And we're talking about the various aspects of it. And that's one of them. Not necessarily mean that's the centrifuge of the relationship, but that could be part of it. See, when we're building a home, let's just be honest. Do we need windows or do we need to put a door there? So if a door needs to be where a window is and you put a door there, you're lying to yourself. Now, women, and this is a common thing. Another thing that we have to unwrap our heads with is just, the fact that two women together, that's common. That's natural. What's unnatural is two men. Mm-hmm. But we won't get into that. So I don't run from things that are true. Mm-hmm. We should take these subjects head on and deal with them in a logical way in which we make sense of them.
Right.
See?
Okay.
And so that's where I want to go with that, and just say that when we're talking about polygamy, we're talking about a myriad of different reasons, and that's why you get a different woman, because there's myriads of things that these people bring to relationships that one person cannot.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you guys think that polygamy for men, polygamy, having more than one wife, more than one woman, can be a solution to cheating? To stop men from cheating? Do you think polygamy can be a solution to stop men from cheating? Bukola, you have your hand up?
Yeah, to answer that question, I think that it can answer the impulse that often leads to cheating. I think it can answer that impulse. And the reason is because it allows contrast to the palate. Like, what I mean is, like, when you have salt, sugar makes the salt more realized, and sugar makes, and salt makes the sugar more realized. You contrast blue to the yellow. You have a greater appreciation in contrast, of one person's personality to the other, of what one person does for you to the other. This person's really good at how they affect me this way. And in contrast, they're really good at how they affect me that way. And it makes you rise in a greater appreciation of what that person does, because it's more realized, because of the difference of the other person. It's like your children, not saying that she's a child, but what I mean is how you love through their differences. You see what I'm saying? It's an enhancement, it helps the other, it supports the other. But one thing that he was mentioned that I wanted to speak on as well. I really want to amplify the idea that it's you're creating an in-house community, just like Kenny was mentioning. It's like an in-house community. How much money do we pay for childcare services? How much money do we pay for, we got to hire somebody to do this, hire somebody to do that? When you have all these talents and you have these gifts and experiences and different things like that, how many different ways and combinations can we show up for each other? Because, we literally are community within that relationship. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a great thing too.
Okay. Will, do you think that it will stop a man if a man has the ability to have more than one wife? You think it will stop a man from cheating?
I would suppose so. I believe that with this topic we're discussing here, again, it's like trying to organize. It sounds like a manner of organizing something that is already happening. People are already cheating. People are already, getting divorced. People are already, and I kind of have a bit of a different idea when it comes to cheating. I'm an analytical person. The word cheat means to have an advantage over somebody. And I think it's a major disadvantage that a man does to himself if he goes out and, kind of hides who he is trying to be. If he's hiding and being secretive, I think it could be very detrimental to his own psyche. So as far as cheating goes, there's no advantage in going to do that. But I think that the major advantage would be to the woman knowing where the loyalties of the man lies and knowing where his interests are. So if he has interest in another woman, and the woman, I know sometimes culturally, she actually has to approve of and bring and accept the other woman. Sometimes you don't even have anything to do with the process. The woman just say, hey, here, this is the woman you're going to be with. So as far as it reducing cheating or the concept of cheating, I definitely agree.
Okay. But what happens to jealousy, guys? You know, what happens to anger and bitterness, competition, power struggles that usually women have already? Okay. We just do. And what happens to all of that when you have to place more than one woman in a household or a community or whatever, and they're sharing men? Where does all that go?
Is like a generator. It's like a generator. It keeps the motivation there. You know, that's how you keep. That's how you don't slip into things like, okay, when we first started, you look like this. You was taking care of yourself. You was attractive. You was going to the gym. You was eating right. All these different things. But when that other person is there, you're more mindful of the value that you're preserving and managing. You understand that somebody else is there to give a contribution. You're there to give a contribution. And when you put it all on the table, you don't want yours looking crazy while theirs is looking, pristine.
Oh, so you're saying it's gonna make each woman is gonna definitely be checking herself because her coattail basically is gonna be pulled by the other woman. It's creating a competition, but for the better.
Right. Right. As long as nobody is, as long as he is not, insulting or highlighting any insecurities or things, he's being nurturing to her. But that energy is going to be there regardless. But, it's for him to nurture each one, of course, according to what the weaknesses and strengths are. But I think that's a great motivation. It's a healthy motivation.
Okay. Do you guys think that polygamy can work with the women, the multiple women all living under the same roof? Or does it require them to have their own separate households? Someone?
I think you raise your hand.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm just going to
Can
you hear me okay?
Yes.
I missed the question. I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to have Kenny answer it, and then I'll repeat it. Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, when we talk about various relationships, they're usually in different households, different roofs. So, so it's rare that you find several families under one monogamous roof. I mean, you could do that, but it takes a different person, someone who's really understanding of what's going on in the society. A woman that has the ability to understand that it's not a cheater who wants more than one woman, more than a gluttonous who wants more than one piece of chicken. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just how we were built. And so if the woman could understand that she has been brainwashed to believe that society says through this Bible that you are required to have one husband, one everything, but everything else can have as many as it wants. See, we've got to unbrainwash ourselves, and understand that it's natural. It's normal to have more than one woman. It's not normal not to. And if you take a picture of somebody who does, I want to see one who never had one woman. Show me. Mm-hmm. He might have had just you, but he's had somebody before you.
Yeah.
And so
at the same time, and I think.
Or at the same time. So let's just keep it. Let's just be honest and deal with the situation maturely, honestly, and let's keep it above. And we'll come to the answers we want. This is just not the way we were wired. So why are we trying to live in a system that doesn't live in us?
Well, it's so funny, if I can interject, because one of the things is I love to listen to music, and some of the words of some of these songs from the men's side as well as the women's side. Everyone is speaking about, either being a side piece, right? From the woman's perspective and from the man's perspective, they're singing and rapping about, if your man finds out, does your man know I got his B? Well, you basically are acknowledging that she has another man, so you're okay with that. So it sounds like we're in a society right now that is accepting of polygamy, where they're accepting their partner or themselves to have more than one partner. But when it comes to, now let's be conscious of it, give me permission to do it, and let's work together, there's some sort of breakdown there. This is why I brought up the jealousy or the power struggle. Bukola, you had your hand up. What do you say to all of this?
Yeah, I'm going to start with first the honesty thing. It trying to hold on to what you want to be true instead of what is true is just going to have you constantly relive disillusionment and pain. You're going to constantly be hurt. Oh, I wanted it to be true that he only wants me, that he only finds me attractive, that he only wants to remain with me, that he only wants to love me. I'm sorry, it's never going to be true. I don't care what man it is, it's never going to be true. If he could get away with it without having to face a burden with you, he would do it. Mm-hmm. If he knew that he could handle that responsibility without scrutiny. So we have to get to a place where we could accept what man's nature really is and not criminalize him for it, but find a way to add responsibility and balance to it, to harmonize with it, because he wants to be himself. And you don't have a place in society for him to be himself without him being criminalized for being himself. Yes, he loves you, but he also wants to love somebody else too. And let's look at the direction. Respect goes upwards, love goes downwards. You see? Like, for example, what God told man, what God gave the instructions that woman is to respect her husband, while man is to love his wife. He made the difference. Mm-hmm. Love, respect. Children are to what? Let's start at the bottom. Children are to respect who? Their parents. Their father, right? And wife is to respect who? The husband. Right? Okay. And when you go downwards, husband is to love who? His wife. Right. And mother is to love who?
Her child.
You see, it goes downwards. She's not supposed to love the husband. She's supposed to respect him. Love can come in there, okay? It can manifest, but she was told to respect him. So it goes in that order. And when we talk about the multiplicity thing or the polygyny thing, does she have the ability to love more than one child?
Yeah.
Okay. Does she have the ability to be fair and just and equal to every child? Nope. In time she can. Mm-hmm. In provision she can. But she can never pull it off to give perfect equality. The same with him loving more than one woman.
Right.
And then when you go higher again, God loves man, right? But he loves more than one of his creations. Mm-hmm. So if we go up in scale, it's the same thing. She loves more than one child. He loves more than one woman. And God loves more than one of his humans.
Creation. He loves
image and likeness. It's the same thing in that direction, because remember, man is the glory of God, while woman is the glory of man.
Man is the glory of God. Say that again. While woman is the glory.
And it's the glory of God, while woman is the glory of man. God was specific about this, but we want to make stuff up and then get confused and get mad. You see what I'm saying? Christ is head of man and man is head of woman. It's the order's right there.
Yeah.
How we confused?
So, and that was a beautiful way to sum up, because my next question was going to be...
I need a bomb on that one. That's...
I'm going to put it in there. I'll make sure I put it in there when I edit. The sound effect will be there, Kenny. Because that was very explosive. Thank you, Bukola. That was Hey, that summed it up. I don't even think I could talk on anything else after that. But that definitely helped answer my next question, because I was going to say some women just see it as, a man who can't control his lust, or his desires. That's just the only reason why he wants to bring in more than one woman. But I beg to differ. I sit there and think, what man will be crazy enough to want to juggle more than one woman's emotions just because he's lustful in that moment? But they do when they have all these multiple babies mamas. You're gonna have to juggle all these different women's personalities now for life, or until the child is 18. Will, what do you say about women who say, no, you just want to do this because this is just out of lust and your physical desires? It's nothing to do with you naturally made like this, or nothing to do with biblically or spiritually this is meant to be.
Yeah, I would say we have to deal with the word lust itself, and what does that mean? So in scripture, I don't remember the exact word, but in scripture, lust kind of translates to the desire of something that you should not have. So it's like, now we have to ask ourselves, process of elimination, what are all the different reasons why a man should not have more than one woman? Okay, now they say for purposes of I can't remember the word at the moment, but basically just fornicating, just having sex out of the sheer fact of just linking up with a woman to be physically engaged with them. That's not necessarily, I don't think that's polygamy. Maybe somebody can consider that polygamy, but if it's a person who's honestly trying to be a part of, like I've been saying, like structure or something along the lines that has just simply a title, then there's no way to just simply say it's lust for this person. And I think that for men and for women alike, that we often act on moments of passion, and when people experience our passion, they want to kind of demonize it and say that was something wrong or bad, but it was a moment of passion. So just to simplify that, I would just say that we can't just put it off and say that it's lust and the person is just trying to operate just out of their flesh. When I say passion, I'm not just simply saying the things that feed your desires. It goes deeper in some cases than just a physical one. Some people just want the company of another woman, I would think. So yeah, that's kind of my spin on it.
Can we replace the word lust or thirst?
Yeah, there we go.
Who gets thirsty? Is it a sin to get thirsty? Okay. I mean, these are emotions, and these are parts of us that God gave us. He made us that way, and we're demonizing the fact that there's something in us that wants to procreate, and then we give it an evil name called lust. But you will pay $40 for one pill to get lusty. Okay. So what God gives you free, they want to demonize it. And now this thing that is called lust, which is no more than the energy that God puts in you to create. And they demonize this. And so you have to be careful of the brainwashing. So there's something if we scroll back and do some history, if a lot of these answers the questions would be answered if we go back into our history and see who we were before before we were colonized, right. And it's,
Okay. Well, and to sum up today, how do we move forward? Since we know that monogamy is failing our community, especially the Black community, polygamy is already basically out there. It's just unspoken, right? It's not coined or termed that, but that's what being a side piece on any side of the fence is. How do we, this is the last question, and I want you to sum it up. How do we convince women, because it sounds like it's the women, how do we convince the women in particularly that although it's a delicate matter, polygamy is basically needed, a necessity for our society, and it is a part of a man's nature? How do we
I would. Oh, I'm sorry. You know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think one thing they need is accountability. I think it's not only women that need that. It's vice versa. Any person, any opposite opposing party or the party you're trying to convince to be in cahoots and to be on the same page with you, I think they need to understand that you also have their best interest in mind. So meaning that I'm able to take accountability even if it's me that's doing the thing. And obviously the person that's talking about polygamy, the man that's just trying to convince the women or the woman, his woman, I don't think necessarily he's the problem, but it might be somebody else. Most majority men that it is in society. So I have to be able to take accountability and knowing like, okay, I see what you see. I see what's wrong with it, what they're doing, and their lack of knowledge or their ignorance is causing you to not have trust issues within me. Yet also to prove to them that I am capable of doing what I say I'm doing. That you don't have to look at the world and say, well, the world can't do it, so how can you do it? I'm not the world, you know?
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that a lot of women could benefit really from hiring the man as a husband and sharing. I mean, it sounds crazy, but what I'm saying is, I don't care how much money you got or what degrees you got. Okay, we see the evidence, the proof, since the 70s of what happens to generations, to society, when fathers are not around, when men are not around, when they don't have fatherly influence in their life. And we have a plague of single motherhood, you know, because feminism is out there, liberalism is out there. At the state that we're in today, a lot of females would do themselves and their children a favor to join hands with another sister and go find a man who has some good sense, regardless of whether he got $5 in his pocket. If he has even wisdom, good example, good influence, it would save the children's lives. It would keep them out of prison, keep them from getting pregnant, something. Mm-hmm. But just alienating from fathers, I mean, they don't even know how to change the battery in a smoke detector. The average house you go to, or female that you call, the smoke detector is always chirp right in the background. It's like a symbol of how out of touch with reality a lot of them are, with what they really do need in their life. It's all gas and it's all talk of I'm bad all by myself. I got it because I got this career, I got this money. Money can't help you because you're in the being of a woman. It can't help you. It can't do nothing for you. It can make you a consumer. But after you have made purchases, what is it doing for you? After you went and bought everything, it's doing nothing. You need a man. And the children need a man, so it's selfish of you not to have a man. So even if you got to share one that has good sense, do it, because you showed your card anyway. You're sharing men every day. Every neighborhood, you skip over the good ones, you leave them unread, and Pookie and Ray Ray got them lined up. He give you 2 babies, he give you 3 babies, he give you 5 babies, and y'all don't mind as long as he got swag, as long as he look like what you seen on TV. You don't care. I'm not saying you, I'm just speaking in the air.
Right.
But this is what we doing anyway. So come out of the dark with what you're doing, put it in the light. Have the courage and self-respect, dignity to come in the light with it. Be honest, because guess what? We burn in fumes with the lion. Oh, I'm a 10. Every female think they a 10 because you can go to the China store and buy some wigs, some lashes, and put on a whole bunch of makeup. Now you a 10 too? Give me a break. Everybody's not a 10. Everybody's not a 10. Everybody don't deserve somebody with 6 pack, 6 feet tall, big muscles. You understand? Every woman, everybody don't deserve the same thing. Okay? Where are you at? And what do you need? You understand? So we need honesty and we need authenticity. Be authentic. What have we been doing? How can we add some responsibility to what we already doing anyway?
Okay. Anybody else? What are some final thoughts on how you can convince women to be more accepting of polygamy?
was gonna say, I don't know. You tell me. You a woman.
You really want my comment? I'll be happy to tell you. Let me hear from all the men, and I'll tell you. I'll sum mine up.
Help them realize that when you talk about polygamy, equate that to competition. And so women really don't like competition.
Mm-hmm.
Men from, young age, not that women don't compete, but, we're really bred and built for that because of the woman's survival depends on that man and how competitive he is. You see what I'm saying? And so it really comes down to them understanding that it's they have to compete, which is something that they don't like to do. And if they want that particular lifestyle, you see what I'm saying? So, because I don't think that the average woman can even handle emotionally multiple men like a man can. She's not built for it. Mm-hmm. So it's this understanding that competition factor, and if they can understand that, then maybe they got a chance.
Okay, Will, you were saying? You want to know me. Jeremiah, I'm going to answer. Jeremiah, did you have a final thought of how you can convince women out here to be more accepting of polygamous relationships?
Yeah. I like I said, a previous one, but also even when I'm dealing with women now, I think it's I think who was it that said it earlier? I think Kenny said it earlier when he said I don't know, I'm not sure if it was Kenny or not, but somebody said something about how I did with you is that no one else matters. It's my individual relationship with you. I might have multiple, interactions with different people, but it's me and you at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I said that.
Yeah, Kenny said that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give my woman perspective, but we are going to have a follow-up topic with the women, the ladies this week, and get their perspective on this whole thing. I know it's going to be interesting to say the least, but to convince a woman or to convince women, I'm not here to speak on all women, but a lot of women. I think first you need to make sure you are understanding her perspective. And I think that Bukola said it before when he said he's understanding her perspective by not going in with one at a time, because he already know where she is going to be at mentally, where a woman is at emotionally and mentally. She's going to basically be killing herself. Now, I can speak and attest to that because I come from that background. My ex practices polygamous relationships, and I was the first, and then eventually more women, he wanted to bring more women in, and it was definitely very devastating. I couldn't understand for the life of me why that was needed. What did I do wrong? What am I not fulfilling? I took a lot of that on personally. And it wasn't until after I grew up and more wisdom came that I realized it had nothing to do with me. This was his nature. And he was trying to let me know in so many ways. But definitely understanding her perspective. The moment you can step into understanding her perspective, because let's just be honest, humans, not just men, are jealous creatures, and but it all comes from the lack of communication and the lack of consideration. Present what polygamy looks like these day and age. Educate her on it. The more you educate, that's why I said communication is very key. Wisdom, as Bukola had said before, having that wisdom. This is not to be practiced by all men. This is not to be practiced by immature men. This is not to be practiced by lustful men or irresponsible men. So, but presenting it, teaching her about it, maybe you both are learning at the same time, addressing certain concerns ahead of time. Ask her what her concerns would be, and let's address that, going forward, whether you started dating them all at the same time or whether you are picking them one by one. If you want to continue to be on, as Kenny was saying, the cultural and roots aspect of it all, okay, highlight the culture aspect and the religious roots of it all, and maybe you'll have that particular woman respect it more and understand it and be more welcoming of it. Then focus on collective goals and the collective benefit. Make sure that stays in the forefront. Collectively, this is how we all benefit. Maybe you can help and allow her to help pick the other women, because now she knows what she's looking for. She knows what she stands in need of. I remember in my particular situation, all of our births were, natural births at home. So when I entertained the idea of having another sister wife or multiple wives, I wanted to look for a midwife. Someone that could be there to help continue to birth the children, naturally at home. So allowing her to have a role in it and making it a true collective, engagement. Be honest about the challenges that are going to be at hand. If you are honest about the challenges, there could be challenges financially, but hell, there could be challenges in a financially a monogamous relationship. But talk about some of the challenges. Talk about the time is going to have to be divided up, and she might not be able to spend as much time with you, or she might have to take on the children a lot more on her own. That was not relayed to me. I resented the fact that I felt like I was a single parent, because my ex was not there as often. I had to be there for the children physically, and I resented that. But so definitely talk about and be honest about the challenges that are at hand. Give her time and space to look at this, analyze it, and accept it. It's not going to be an overnight thing. It may take her some time, but respect that. Discuss boundaries. There should definitely be boundaries, okay? And expectations. You can't ask her, tell her what you expect of her, but make them reasonable. Don't sit there and say, we're going to all go out on a double date all the time. She probably ain't going to want that. So talk about expectations and talk about boundaries. I know a boundary for me was I don't want to share my marital bed. It's not for the other wives or other women to come and, what I consider defiling my marital bed. My bed belonged to me and you at that time. We don't share beds, So whatever your expectation might be, you have to have that discussed in the forefront before engaging and making a woman try to jump on to this. Ensure her that this is not about lust, but it's definitely about nature. You have self-control. This is why you want to do it honorably, and that it's about love and generational wealth. If they can really truly see it, you can build a whole lot more collectively than you can individually. So yeah, that's my take on it. As a woman, how to get to a woman to accept it, to look at it more positively and be willing to entertain it. Because at the end of the day, I think that's where we are anyway, whether she agrees with it or not. But now, how can she consciously participate in it and make it really a beautiful thing? But I definitely think anybody want to comment on that?
No, I really appreciate what you said. What everyone, in here said, it's enough for us to, weigh it out, have discussions about it, talk about it. We're not going to go anywhere, shooing the truth away. At some point, we got to turn around, have the guts to look at the truth, deal with the truth, talk about it without being aggressive, without, being defensive, without fighting. We should really talk about the truth. Men have not had a chance yet to really be received in their authentic self, because the romantic ideals, says, oh no, that's not how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be like this. Everybody agrees, and public opinion is going to punish you if you don't do it. So the truth comes out in the dark instead. The truth comes out behind the corner. The truth comes out down the street. Because there's no place where you will allow, participate in him bringing the truth about himself out. Where is he going to go and be honest with himself? Everywhere he goes, everybody's rejecting who he knows he is. So at some point, men are going to have to themselves collectively take control of the situation and lead with it. Everybody's not monogamous. I'm not monogamous. This is what I believe in. This is how I feel. This is what I think. This is how I deal with, relationships, and let them say yes or no, but it's going to take for us to be honest and lead with that,
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I know we're trying to wrap it up, but I gotta say some things.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about your last soliloquy of convincing. First of all, what's understood needs not to be said. What's understood need not be said, which means I don't want to have to convince you. Nobody trying to convince you of nothing. What I'm looking for is the one who understands, who I don't have to convince. We're in this together.
Loud and clear.
She's looking for what I'm looking for too. She gets it. So ain't no convincing it. And here's another thing. We got to untrain our brains from this European way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. We've been lied to. There's no such thing as a one love. I'll only love you, and I can't love anybody else. You're supposed to love one woman. Are you crazy? How many kids do we have? How many are we supposed to love of our kids? How many?
Yeah,
2? What's the limit?
All of them.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. We have to stop allowing ourselves to be brainwashed by the ideology of a European who has shaped our minds to be chaotic, to go against ourselves. It's called a schism. And schism is what kills us. You're going against yourself. There's a battle within you.
Yeah.
And until you recognize and understand that you've been lied to, and those values that they tell you that you should live by is a bunch of farce, the lie.
Yeah.
Who told you you couldn't have more than one piece of chicken? Who told you you couldn't have more than one woman? Who told you you could? Who told you that?
Exactly.
Who show me the man who told me it's a sin? Because I'm gonna punch him in his face and tell him you're a damn lie. I didn't have more than one.
He's not playing, huh?
We gotta unbrainwash ourselves.
He said, I like chicken.
Yeah, and that's from the mouth of a 60-plus-year-old. Now, let me ask
That's right. Love you, fam.
Wait, I have 2 questions of some people that came in. They want to know, is this only for the Black woman to accept it, or is it all women?
I mean, I believe that it's a thing that will really balance humanity overall, in my opinion.
Everybody else, I want Kenny. Is it just for Black women or all women? Say it again.
All women should. I mean, it's not it's a principle.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Let's understand this. It's all people have to recognize this.
Okay.
And all people need to know that gravity says what goes up must come down. It ain't women, men, all people need to know that. So,
Jeremiah, all women, just prescribed for just the Black woman?
I think, yeah, all women. But I feel like I feel like the Black man can do the best. But yeah, all women.
Black man could probably do it the best. I'm saying,
I know what I'm saying, but like all women for the Black man, but all women. I don't know. For the Caucasian man, should my black queen be a third wife to him?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, nah, bro, stay away from her.
I think the black community needs it the most.
Yeah, no. I don't know, but I just know what he said about them being. I'm a little bit different in that regard, but I would say all women. I would say all women could benefit, not just
Okay,
women.
now, and my last thing now, I just want to make sure that I understand this. This is a whole different topic. Lead us into another time. I watched a podcast, and it was a husband and wife couple, black couple in there, who was in a polyamorous relationship. However, she had multiple husbands. Yes or no? Are you doing this, Will?
No.
Jeremiah, silence is a yes?
No. I was saying no, but it's muted. It's no.
He was slapping that screen.
Winford, Kenny.
No. Hell.
What was the question?
Are you sharing
Your wife.
your wife? Or is it just that are you sharing a chick that you also...
Well, what do you mean by sharing?
Why are we-
Okay,
What are we getting from her?
Am I sharing it with what? A vibrator? Am I sharing
No,
it with
what?
a blow-up doll? Am I sharing it with a woman?
He know
A
he
man,
heard the
can
question.
she have more than one man in her life?
No, there's no need for that. I mean, that part of she don't have a problem. She don't want that. I mean, the reason she doesn't is because she's being fulfilled in that area, and what the woman wants is kind of. But that's another story. But we won't get into
all
that.
right, we're gonna leave that for another time.
That's a deep one. That's a long subject, boy.
Hold on. Yes or no?
Nah, and I'm not convinced that she really, would want that, unless there's some illness or something.
I would say no as well.
He said that is a sickness.
No, but that's serious, and that could be definitely. I've heard of it before, and as he said, for illness, there are situations where illness is in the play where she might have to have another man. But that's a different
mental illness.
Yeah, he wasn't saying like that, like he's got auto deficiency or nothing.
I'm not convinced that that's what she wants. I'm not convinced that any woman wants more than one man. Unless there's a mental illness there.
Oh, she gotta have a mental illness.
He said she got a mental problem. Something wrong with her thoughts.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, we got.
But the women got to be mental ill because they want to.
That's crazy. That's an interesting perspective.
We're going to definitely end on that note. I want to thank all of my guests and my panelists. Thank you to my special guest, Kenny, and surprise guest, Winford, in the building. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to my co-host, Aoife Bukola, and thank you to my usual panelists, Jeremiah and Will. We will see you until next time. Peace.
Yeah,
It was
The
great,
views,
yo.
thoughts, and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are solely those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, and positions of Shannon P., the host, and the business associated with this podcast. Shannon P. and the Can You Relate podcast crew are not responsible for any statements made by guests and do not endorse any opinions shared unless explicitly stated.